Welcome back to a new episode of the Comedy Crypt. This week we have Mr. O, the band teacher of Shepaug, whose classes seem to be more laid back than usual. And today we're going to figure that out with some very well done questions, some rigorous discussion, and some fun segments.
I feel like that's not truly accurate. But it's a great start, though. Thanks.
Right, on to the first question. What are your responsibilities as a band teacher?
To have the students learn how to play music through their instruments in an orderly, respectful way. Would you agree with that, Kyle?
I haven't really experienced it, but...
What, band or order or experience?
Orderly experience.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting.
For those of you at home, I am part of the Shepaug band.
Percussionist.
Yeah. Okay. And I am part of the band. So, can you elaborate a bit more? Like, do you have a curriculum?
Well, what I mean by orderly, I mean like more of like a focused way of experiencing music through their instruments. And the order in the sense of that comes through listening, application, and using their instruments to play different styles and listen to different styles and try to have that become more of their experience through school. And it's about working hard in all areas, and this is just one of them.
Yeah, so I assume you keep check on the progress of each student.
I do. You get a daily grade. It's rehearsal readiness.
Yeah.
It's all through Power School.
Yeah, I hope I get a good grade.
You should check your grades more often.
Okay, well, what's that supposed to mean?
I think it was pretty clear.
Okay, well, that's why I asked. Well, do you have anything more to add? Like, are there any hardships that you face? Are there any,
I think
what's fun about it?
Keeping the music relevant, because a lot of times people will tend to want to play music either that they know or feel is fun, but a lot of times getting to those points is important for students to get past that. Everyone has to start at step one, but no one wants to be seen at step one. And what that means is trying to get students beyond that, insecure stage of, I can't do this, but I really want to be able to play this music, and having that, what they call like the Goldilocks rule, like just enough challenge without it being too easy or too difficult to keep them motivated.
Yeah, I have a question. Each song that we play in band has a name, and the high school songs, they have boring names like Benediction, Pixar Movie Magic.
I think it's a matter of perspective what boring means.
Well, no, let me finish my spiel. We have songs like that are just boring, like bare bones office worker stuff. And then the middle school, who I think hates band more than us, have songs like Dragon Dance and like March of the Shadows.
I think there's a difference in maturity level that comes into play in choosing songs and song titles. So when we get to the high school level, we're kind of past the, I'm going to play it because it sounds cool as far as the title is concerned. It's more about content at that time.
Well, the title should describe the song pretty well.
It's like picking books that only like the covers look cool. Is that how you pick your books, Kyle?
No, I'm just saying that the books that are like about Bobby Bear going to pick up his groceries have
Bobby
like a
Bear?
picture of like a dragon on it, and then our story about like about the consequences of like Marxism has like a smiley face on it or something. It's like
I'm sure if that's a good direct
the equation of
correlation.
title versus focusedness of the song is. All right, anyways.
What happens with the title choosing is more content. That's more of a side product of how that happens. So things that we do like for middle school, like Fire Dance or I'm trying to think of a Phantom Echo. Those are the songs that we're playing right now. Those are more based upon content and rather than like the title. It's not really trying to entice someone to play it based upon how the title sounds.
Why is it that way? And also, I've heard these songs, the titles don't match well. All right, well, let's just get off that tangent onto our first very special segment of this episode of the Comedy Crypt, True or False. I know y'all love this. You guys just love this segment. I do too. Some of the guests don't. And we're just going to jump right into it. So your first true or false question, and by the way, you answer it with either true or false.
Go over.
Because some people don't understand that. A new recently discovered state of matter is called time crystal.
This is where true or false comes into play?
This is where you answer.
With true or false?
Yeah.
True.
You got it right. Weird state of matter, I'll tell you. Anyways, killer whales kill sharks by torpedoing up into the shark's stomach from underneath, causing the shark to explode.
Wait, say that again?
Killer whales kill sharks by torpedoing up into the shark's stomach from underneath, causing the shark to
Sorry, I
explode.
was not listening once again. Can you say that one more time for me, please?
Killer whales kill sharks by torpedoing up into the shark's stomach from underneath, causing the shark to explode.
You know what? Sure. Yes, true.
There you go. You got it. After 1945, all British tanks have equipment to make tea.
British tanks
Yeah.
make tea?
The things that kill people.
They make what kind of tea?
I don't know.
Like iced tea?
Probably not. Like a good old tea with a biscuit.
Oh, sure, true.
You got it again. All right, there are more than 50 kinds of kangaroos.
50 kinds? What's a kind? Like a species?
Species.
Species? I'm gonna go false on that one.
You got it wrong. There are a lot of kangaroos, dude, I'll tell you. It's weird. If humans didn't exist, dolphins would be the most intelligent species on Earth.
True.
Wrong again. That title would go to the porpoise. Boy, smart. Anyways, it is possible to store a GIF in the DNA of bacteria.
Oh, gosh. I'm sorry.
I told you there'd be rigorous questions. Never said they'd be related to your role in Shepaug.
I'm gonna say true.
Science is weird, dog. It is. And now we have a math one,
Oh,
which
great.
is fun.
Here we go.
All numbers with digits in ascending order can be divided by the sum of their digits.
All?
Yeah.
True.
Wrong.
Okay.
It sounds true, right? It sounds like something that would happen, but it's not.
I don't know. I've never
That's
thought
what
about
gets people.
ascending digits adding up and
Anyways,
things like that.
the next question of the Comedy Crypt episode 3 with Mr. O is... I can't read that. Louder? Okay, sorry. Question 2 of this episode of the Comedy Crypt is, are there any mishaps that happen in the band room? Little goofs and gaffes that may disrupt the overall workflow?
I can think of a few individuals that contribute to the mishaps.
Yeah. Perhaps those individuals are poked by a theoretical stick.
I feel like they pretty much ask for what they get.
I don't agree with that.
It's kind of a strange thing to not agree with if you don't know the specifics.
Yeah. I'm sticking up for them.
For who?
That person that you're talking about.
Is it one?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
I can think of a few.
It's an interesting class.
I won't name names though, since this is a family-friendly show. We're not looking to call out anybody.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So. Well, can you give some examples?
Sometimes people will use select language that is inappropriate.
And I assume that the punishment for that is not equal between all the students.
Why would you assume that?
Because
What brings you to that assumption?
Like experience.
Would you care to elaborate on that?
No.
Oh. It's pretty of a blanket statement to just throw out there and just hide behind the word no.
Well, if the blanket's supposed to stop a fire, then you'd want to cover the whole fire. You know?
What's the fire here? Your inaccuracies?
Life.
Life.
Anything else that doesn't revolve around a certain individual?
Like good things, very good things. You know, it's something where, it's an environment where I encourage people to honestly give their best effort, to display their hard work, and that's what's really supposed to be happening. And sometimes people will mess up and play inaccurately,
And then you stop the whole thing and stare at them when...
I stop and I stare at those individuals who contribute in a negative way.
Yeah, I think that, I think I know who that is. Won't name names though. Do students play songs while you're talking?
Yes, all the time.
Oh.
And that kind of drives me crazy.
Is there a certain student who does this? Don't name his name though.
His name?
Their name.
Their name?
Yeah.
There are a lot of times where students will just play their instruments, and most of the time it's for the music that's in front of them. So if we stop and they mess up, they'll try to like fix it and work on it and everything. It's those times though are the moments where they really need to be listening for instructions on how to fix it and have them.
I'm getting a message from our staff.
In any case, they are trying to remedy the problem that caused the fact that we had to stop. Most of the time, it's not necessarily just random songs that they're just either bored with. They're trying to accommodate. And my frustration lies not in their wanting to fix their problem, but like how they're fixing their problem, right? Just launching into I got this and I got this. But if you do that, times however many students are in the room, becomes noisy and unfocused.
I know in my time in percussion up there, I've heard a couple of SpongeBob themes when you're trying to tell people how to play their instrument.
SpongeBob?
Yeah.
What?
I won't name names though, because
What
that's not
song
what
are
we're-
they playing?
Like, you know, like the do-do-do-do-do.
How's it go?
It's like the bubbly one.
The bubbly one? I don't know that song.
Sorry, I don't know the exact notes of the song.
I don't know that song at all, so.
All right, well, you're supposed to be a band teacher.
Do I
All right, you know, I think we're just going to cut it off there before this gets, like, out of hand, which brings us to our second very special segment on the Comedy Crypt, Episode 3 with Mr. Obolewicz. What is your $1 million idea? What would you make to put on an infomercial that interrupts a soap opera that would make you millions?
I don't know. I feel like if I had $1 million idea, I might be developing it right now, but I'm not really sure.
We're talking hypothetically, by the way.
Oh, hypothetically?
I'm not telling you to spill your plans for retirement.
I don't have particular plans like that. I regretfully don't have anything to contribute for this.
All right, well, how about we work together to make one?
Oh, okay. I like
So you're a
working.
music guy.
Yeah.
Like, what's annoying about music that you wish you could, like, fix? Like, not specifically music in general, but
Like people who
playing it.
playing music?
Like, oh, I wish I had something to fix that.
A couple of answers are going through my head right now.
Oh, I assume
But,
it's related to that certain individual.
Sometimes. I think the one thing that would be helpful in music is a little bit more authentic, synthesized sounds, like or MIDI sounds. You know, they're getting pretty good with artificial like pianos or drum sets, but it still has that quality that loses that authentic quality. So if we can come up with a true processed, if that's even like able to combine those two ideas, then I really feel like music can evolve a lot more developmentally. What do you think, Kyle?
Well, I was thinking,
Where
like,
did you come in on that?
don't certain students have trouble playing a certain string of notes? Maybe there could be a little program that if you put in the right notes with a certain key with a certain instrument, it'll show a quick video of like.
They do have that already. It's called, actually, I'm forgetting what it's called now. Smart music. That's what it is.
I bet it's very smart.
It tracks your playing. It shows you what you could play, what you're supposed to play, what you actually did play, and where it lined up and everything. It's actually quite good.
This isn't going well. So.
I think my idea was working pretty well.
Well, yeah. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Anyways, that concludes our second very special segment of this episode of the Comedy Crypt with Mr. O. $1 million idea. If you had one, I hope you capitalize on it. Anyways, on to the third question. What is the easiest instrument to play, and what is the hardest instrument to play? In your opinion, because we all know opinions differ.
What's yours, Kyle?
You see, I'm not going to comment.
Well, you have multiple years on playing two different instruments, don't you? Which one do you find easier?
Percussion.
Okay. Well, it's kind of, I get that question asked a lot. They say, you know, Mr. Obolewicz, what instrument should I play?
Because a lot of people want to go for the easiest one.
They do.
When really they all like...
And you have to define what does easy mean. Like,
it's just like the starting point of learning how to play it. Because
there are different qualifications on what makes the instrument more difficult than others. Some of it's a physical restraint. So if you have one arm, that would make some instruments more difficult to play. But if you're kind of all together and it's the appendages, then I feel like it would kind of level the playing field.
Let's get off that topic. So a lot of people don't pick up flute because you have to play it at a certain angle to get the sound to come out. Yeah. Right? Well, I wasn't going to exactly recreate it because I don't have a flute.
Looked like you just ate a sandwich or something like that.
Okay, well, and a lot of people like the trumpet because, there's only 3 little notches on it.
Right, so that's where the misleading physical characteristics of an instrument can lead someone to...
Some people may look at a saxophone and they're like, whoa, that's a lot of buttons.
Right.
I'm going to play the...
And saxophone's actually one of the easier instruments to play. But the reason why that is because it's very familiar to an instrument that most people play in earlier years of elementary school, the recorder. But what happens is, the point of my story about the differentiation of difficulty in instruments is all comes down to whichever one that you are actually going to practice. Because what happens is, although certain instruments are more physically demanding, like trumpet, compared to percussion, if you never practice percussion, it's never going to get any better. So you have to be it's like, what's the easiest sport to play? It's kind of like what we call a loaded question. Soccer's actually a little difficult.
You just hit the ball.
I'm sure some people in this room would have a hard time running from one end of the field to the other.
Well, with your logic, if they have 1 foot, then they'd have trouble playing soccer, right?
This is true.
Why is that the first thing you went to?
Because it brings up a valid
problem.
All right,
how about we change the question to what is the most common instrument you see and what is the least common instrument you see?
Well, it's kind of, I don't know.
I assume a lot of people
People stay away from brass instruments for some reason because they tend to be larger, they don't travel as easy, and some of the most important instruments in an ensemble are the low brass, but they don't really have the most exciting parts. It's like if you have an unfinished basement, you're not going to be like, hey, come on over and check out my basement. It's fantastic. It doesn't really work that way. Because although it's the most important part of your house to hold up everything else, it's kind of like the low brass. No one's really like, yay, I play trombone and I play 3 notes this whole song. But it's important that those things happen to balance things out.
Yeah, you got to no one focuses on the legs of the table. They focus on they focus on this part of the table.
What that part?
It's the table part. I gotta know the scientific name for the table part of the table.
The tabletop?
Yeah, that would work.
The top of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The non-leg part. We'll go with that.
Okay.
What to do. Because I'm in percussion, and I know a lot of people...
Well, percussion has a lot of different roles that people have to take on. Whether it's a battery role or they have to play auxiliary, and there's a technique through all of those types of things. And it's not just about playing a certain rhythm, it's playing it with contour and making sure that the texture is right and using different mallets to bring out certain things within, whether you're playing xylophone or a suspended cymbal. I mean, some people play suspended cymbal with sticks, and that's not really the most accurate way to do that.
I feel like that's also referring to the individual we're talking about.
Sometimes those things happen. But then what I'll do is I'll be helpful as a teacher and say, hey, what does your part say to do? And they're like, oh, I didn't read my part, and maybe I should do that.
Okay, Mr. O, when have I done that?
I actually wasn't really implying you, Kyle, but it's weird that you went that direction.
Yeah, no, we both know what individual we're talking about.
It's important that we kind of leave names out of this, I think.
Yeah, I think we should do that too.
Yeah.
Ignore the last 10 seconds of footage.
Can we cut that?
Probably.
Probably not.
That just
showcased
both of our outlooks on life. I said probably, and he's like, probably not. So,
but what happens in percussion? You have this whole world. Everyone's like, oh, I'm going to play percussion because I get to hit things. And yes, that's true, but that's not necessarily accurate in the sense of music.
Yeah, in my little sister's concert, there were 60 people in percussion. And she was the only one playing violin. They had to cycle out percussionists mid-song so that everybody could play.
How old's your sister?
She's like 9.
Oh.
And they had a lot of percussion instruments. They had to, like, there was enough for like 20 kids, but they had to like cycle like every song.
Really?
Yeah, because they accepted way too many kids into percussion.
Sometimes that's a problem. And a lot of band teachers will put what they have as like roadblocks in those early stages, and they'll either make the students play mallets to start with, and then move them over to, you know, drums later on, because everyone's like, oh, I want to play drums, because they're thinking drum set, they're thinking rock bands, they're thinking, you know, more pop music and everything. But that's not necessarily how it works for a band setting.
Yeah, because you have to have balance and not 60 people who want to play the bass drum. It was like just percussion, that entire concert.
Was it a percussion ensemble?
Yeah, there was like a full like 10 by 10 meter area of like
10 meters? It's like 30 feet by 30 feet?
Yeah, of just like not percussionists. This was the rest of the band, and I could still only hear percussion. It was ridiculous, Mr. O.
That seems
My
somewhat
poor little sister, she was the only one on violin. And one of the songs, the violin was like a big part, and nobody heard her.
How did you know it was a big part?
Because like I check her music, and like I visited like the band a couple times to check up.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't know you had that, that you did that.
Yeah, except she's not in the school, Mr. O.
Okay.
Yeah, because, yeah. All right, anyways, on to the next segment. This one, we're gonna do a little switch up. We're gonna do favorite blank. I know you all love this segment because I've never talked to any of you. So, we're gonna start off with a couple of questions.
I think that says 10 minutes left.
Okay.
Is that what that says? Yeah.
All right. So, what's your favorite color?
Black.
Wouldn't have guessed that. You just like went straight for it. 'Cause
Well,
most
you
peop-
asked me a question. I
Well,
answered
most
it.
people are like,
I have to
I
think
don't
about
know.
these
I mean,
questions?
orange is pretty good on Fridays or something. You just went straight black.
Well, if you know that it's like if I said, "What's your name?" You're gonna sit there and be like, "Well, sometimes."
Well, you have
know.
one name.
Well, I have one favorite.
All right,
color.
we have more favorite blanks to go through. What's your favorite animal?
Probably a shark.
Shark.
Yeah. Would that
I am-
classify as an animal?
Your vibes are not correlating with this. What's your favorite plant?
Plant?
Yeah.
What would classify like a plant? Like, would a flower classify as a plant?
What's your favorite type of grass? How about we go with that?
I don't know. Probably
Tall
crabgrass, because my whole lawn is crabgrass.
Crabgrass.
Yeah, it just makes everything green.
Wouldn't have guessed that.
Why?
What's your favorite instrument?
Probably guitar.
Didn't you play saxophone?
Yeah.
Again, not matching up.
Well, I'm a sax player, right? So
This
I went
guy's fishy. All right, anyways, what's your favorite band?
my favorite band?
Yeah, not like, oh, this is our orchestra, like music band, like albums and stuff.
Actually, you know what? I listen to a bunch of different music. I listen to like a lot of scores and everything. Favorite band? Probably, I listen to like a lot of jazz trios, probably like Chris Potter Quartet.
All right, and now the final
He's a
favorite.
sax player.
Okay, now the final favorite
Yes.
blank. What is your favorite optical phenomenon? We got the hard questions this time, folks.
I would not know where to begin.
I'm more of a fan of mirages, but like,
Why is that?
I don't know, they're
Because
creepy.
you're delusional?
What?
Is it like...
All right, hallucinations are not mirages. Mirages are when the light scatters through dust in the atmosphere and risen up by hot air so that you see things different. That's why in the desert it seems like
It's a little
there's
easier to
light.
like come up with an answer like that if you know what the questions are. And
Yeah.
I'm sitting here like, duh. Yeah. My
Anyways, that
favorite
brings us
optical
to the
illusion?
fourth and final question of this episode of the Comedy Crypt with Mr. Obolewicz. Are there any steps that Shepaug could take to improve their musical program?
Well, I think having the middle school meet a little bit more frequently would be helpful to gain consistency. I feel like something that this school does, and it's not necessarily one person or has been passed down. It's just kind of an environment that band or chorus is a class. And one thing that I'm really trying to portray here is that band and chorus is a program. So if we have like a K-12 program, then we can kind of unify, not kind of beige out our sound, but kind of unify our direction. And that's one thing that we wanted to do with the unified concert in January with the elementary schools. They came up here, all 3 schools performed as one ensemble, and the 7th and 8th grade played with them. And what happens is when you have that unity, you can see the directions. You can see, hey, a couple years from now, I may be able to play in that ensemble, or a couple years from now, I may be able to play that part. And we get a little bit longevity when we have those kind of long-term goals, rather than like, I play an instrument, I leave it here, and I'm kind of just don't want to take this class, so I'm here because of default. And I want to start building a program, a unified program, rather than just a, default elective.
Yeah, a lot of the vibes I get from middle schoolers is that they don't like band. Just thought I'd mention that.
What segment is that?
That's not a segment,
Are we going into that?
I'm bouncing off of your concerns.
Well, I think what happens is in middle school, those are like really important years of developmental portions. In middle school, there's like a saying in middle school, what happens is you go from learning to read to reading to learn. And there's a transition there, right? And that same thing happens with music. You go from, this is how I hold my instrument, this is how I play this note, to actually playing music. So there's like a bridge that needs to be crossed. There's an understanding that has to be transferred into an application purpose. And a lot of times that becomes more or less what we brought back to is, how do I get students to practice, or how do I get students to become more involved with what they're doing? And that's trying to find that Goldilocks rule of like, this is a little difficult, you have to put some effort into it. And I think what happens is, in an environment of the school environment, everyone's just looking for an answer, not necessarily the process. So we want to eliminate the process and just get the answer. That's why a lot of people like take shortcuts, or they cheat, or they try to find a way to get an A. When really it's not about getting an A, it's about getting a way to make an A. And that's where we lose that disconnect. And those middle school years are really hard transforming and transitioning years, and it's difficult to have that, especially when we have this, I'm in this class because I don't want to be in this one, and we're trying to culminate that as an environment, as a positive learning environment, and sometimes it becomes, I can't do this, so I'm going to blame someone else, whether it's me, whether it's my parents made me play this, or whatever it may be. That's where we try to eliminate the responsibility and kind of set ourselves at a distance of what's happening, and we want to make sure that that doesn't continue on.
All right, well, I think that's a great way to end this episode of the Comedy Crypt. Mr. O, the band teacher of Shepaug. This guy is great. He's funny sometimes. He's a great teacher. The environment of the high school band class, don't know about the middle school because I'm not in there anymore, losers. Anyways, the environment in that is just so great. It's so great for learning, because you don't feel like pressured unless you're a certain individual this is first year in band, by the way, or at least percussion. I won't name names, but that wraps up our episode.
Thank you, Kyle, for having me. This has been eye-opening. Truly.
Sure bet.
Truly.
I sure bet.